Welcome everyone to this webinar about Technia integration framework. Today we will go through what TIFF is, what the benefits are, and the positioning of TIFF. We will also get a technical overview with some configuration examples on how you set up the integrations and what you can do. My name is Anders Malmgren. I work with the international sales. My main focus is on our internal products. It's Technia integration framework and our TVCs. And beside me I have Daniel Vossman. He's solution architect working with our delivery projects, but he is also highly involved in our R&D efforts when it comes to this product Technia integration framework. We encourage you to post questions throughout this webinar. That can be done in the webinar tool. And we will, in the end, bring up and discuss the questions we receive. If we don't have time to go through everything, we will reply in one way or the other so that everybody gets the response. Like most of our product, TIFF is a result of customer requirements. It started 2 years ago when we had a customer event. We do surveys and polls on what our customers think that we should focus on. And that year, integration came up on top. You ask us to address the complexity and costly point-to-point integration you have. These are usually quite old. It's sensitive for making updates and changes to, very error prone, and drives costs. There are also some new integration techniques out there that you would like to try out, and a more modern way of integrating with separation of the ENOVIA bits and talking to an ESP instead of direct to point-to-point integrations. We were also asked to adopt to the same concept of configuration that we have for our other set of product, namely the TVCs. There we work with XML configurations, and you will ask us to adopt to that thinking as well when it comes to integration. So we set out a vision for you. We should increase the speed of implementation and making it easy to maintain this integration part. That's usually quite expensive to hold up. So the overall total cost of ownership for your ENOVIA environments. We should also strive for configuring as much as possible for the outcoming and incoming integrations. And these are, maybe if you have a working good CAD integration, this will not replace that. But for the other type of system that you usually integrate to, this should be the tool for all of them. And it should also be a framework where you can have all different type of integration techniques in one place. And we should also add error management, logging and validation to that. So what is it then? It's actually software. As I told you, it's a product. It is supported. We will come up with 3 releases per year, the same as we do with all our other products, and it will also be in the same time frame. It also is a development toolkit, and with that we mean it's included a methodology on how you configure and set this up. We will shortly see what we can do done here. And if you have a more advanced configuration needs, where you have to fetch data from very different sources and making very complex traversing of information, we have support for that as well through extension points. So it is a framework that holds the different modern techniques for integrations we have today, with messaging, we have web services, we have batch engines in here, and it's designed then to have everything in the same platform. All right, and by that I would like to hand over to Daniel for some more, a little bit technical insight in what this is.
Yes, hello. I will now give you some more information, as Anders said, on TIFF and how it can be used, and what different types of integration technologies and how they can be used. TIFF is grouped into three main areas or components that is based on different types of integration technologies. And the first area is something called message integrations, and typically used for exchanging XML information between different systems within a company. And this component then utilizes standards for message integrations, typically like JMS, Native MQ, and AMQP, where you then, as our TVC, in a similar way as our TVC products, use XML configurations to define what information you want to typically extract from ENOVIA. And then you can validate that XML against your corporate integration contracts, where you have set up exactly what information that is allowed to communicate between different systems. So this can be validated and before ENOVIA is actually sending the information to other systems. And there's also capability to then define, with this XML that you have extracted from ENOVIA, you define where you want to send this information. And that can then be done to different based on different technologies, or to different locations. Could be directly to other systems or through an enterprise service bus, as Anders mentioned before. That is the most common way to integrate to other systems. This component also has support for exchanging information in more standard text formats, like CSV file or comma separated file, or any typical format that might be required by certain systems you have within your company. They might not support modern integration technologies, so you therefore is required to exchange a CSV file typically with information, and that then can then be configured as well in this component. The next component is the web services, where there's a set of configurable web services for exporting or update information in ENOVIA. And it's also then possible to add, if you have existing web services in your ENOVIA system today, those can be hosted on the TIFF server as well, to offload your ordinary users or the ordinary application servers from the integrations that could affect performance for the end user. So in this case, you offload it and put that onto the TIFF responsibility to handle that load. The third component is the batch engine, where there are different functionalities. One is to handle scheduled jobs, typically scheduled to export certain data, maybe every evening or every weekend, and also to handle background jobs typically invoked by ENOVIA triggers, maybe something that should happen when you're releasing an ECO or releasing a part. There might be some more extensive background job that needs to be executed for some reason, and that is then handled by the batch engine. It also has support for watching folders. So in this case, when you're typically exchanging files between systems, those can be put onto a file share, and then TIFF can watch that folder for picking up new files that are put on that file share. And the last part is the PDF generation, where you can then configure TIFF to generate PDF files when you are typically releasing a document, an Office document in ENOVIA. We will look into more details on one configuration example of how you can handle that later on. So, as Anders mentioned earlier, the positioning of TIFF is to integrate ENOVIA with your enterprise systems. It's actually not to integrate a CAD system, but rather other types of information system within your company. So in this illustration here, we have ENOVIA on the left-hand side, and then your other typically ERP systems or CRM systems or manufacturing execution systems or any other type of system. And at many customers, you have already done the light blue here, something called an enterprise service bus that has the responsibility to communicate information or distribute information between all your systems within the company. And the idea with TIFF is not to replace that. It's rather an extension point to ENOVIA to facilitate extraction and updates of information in ENOVIA. So in this illustration, we have the enterprise service bus that then handles the communication or coordination of integrations within your company. But you don't necessarily need to have an enterprise service bus. You can equally well use TIFF to connect to your existing systems if you don't have an enterprise service bus in place already. TIFF is then has a responsibility to keep track of all integrations from ENOVIA until it is handed over to your receiving system or your enterprise service bus. So here TIFF is responsible for the quality of service scope, and this means that each integration should be tracked, error handling and so on, and ensure that no integration is lost or at least it's not notified to an administrator or user that something failed and needs to be corrected for some reason. One important part as well of the integration platform is the administration UI, where you have an overview of all your integrations. You will see the statistics per integration, the current integrations that is running, the success and error rates. You can stop and pause integrations and then have an error tracking to see what integrations has failed and why, and then maybe re-trigger that integration again. So now on to the benefits of using TIFF to integrate ENOVIA with your other systems. You have definitely the speed. You shorten the implementation time a lot with configuration instead of programming, and this due to configurations, but also to a large extent that you don't need to have all this, as you say, boilerplate code, or you don't need to develop your own code to handle connections to other systems or different types of systems, different integration technologies and logging and error handling and so on. That is handled within the product, and you can focus your effort on setting up the specific business logic you have in your integrations. And this then also reduces the amount of testing, as this product has been tested by Technia and by our customers that is using TIFF, you need to spend less effort on testing your integrations. It also comes to speed of implementation, as you have TIFF is packaged with a set of prepared integration templates to start off with, and also recommended integration strategies for minimum trial and errors. That could be another issue, that you evaluate different alternatives and so on before you came to decision what integration technology to use. So yes, there is a set of preferred way to set up integration with ENOVIA. Then stability. TIFF can be set up as a single installation, or you can scale it up to using multiple installations, or when the increase or load of your integration increases over time. And it's also stability in the sense of, as mentioned before, logging and traceability and monitoring of integrations. Then the final benefit is also then, that actually cover all these areas, I believe, is the cost of ownership, that you have both, I mean, as mentioned before, shortened implementation time, less code to maintain, less testing, and easier changes to integrations as well. But also that you have an easy upgrade of TIFF. You don't need to upgrade ENOVIA to upgrade TIFF. So you can easily benefit of new releases of TIFF once a year or every quarter if you like to, but that's an important strategy with TIFF, that it should be easy to take benefit of new functionality in the product. And then you have an easier administration part as well. So just to give you an insight into what industries this product is used, and this is to just highlight that this is TIFF is not intended for one specific industry or one specific type of customer, but this is rather than typically preferably used in any industry. So we have it already used in the medtech, the machining, the high-tech electronics, the food and beverage, and the construction and the offshore industry, to mention a few of them. Excuse me. So now into a few configuration examples before we go into the question and answer session. In this we have the scenario where you typically release a part in ENOVIA. You set up in the upper left, right gray box, you set up a trigger in ENOVIA that defines that when releasing this part, you should export information to other system. It could be when you release an ECO or a boom, or any type of change within ENOVIA can trigger an integration. So on the TIFF server or in TIFF, there's then one configuration where you define what should happen when you release this part. So the first part is something that is called a payload. This is where you define the information you want to extract from ENOVIA. And here you can utilize either, as Anders mentioned, you can, if you have really complex business logic, or you can here have extension point for putting in Java, but more preferably you utilize XML configurations that defines how you should expand the structure or query the database for certain objects, and define what information to pick out from those objects. Typically could be for a boom, it could be the quantity and the parts in the boom and the level of the boom they exist on. And these configurations are then the same as you use if you're using our other products, the TVC, in the user interface for expanding structures and showing tables. You can utilize the same tables to extract information from ENOVIA as in your integrations. So you can reuse what configurations you have already set up earlier. And then you can then optionally transform this XML to a certain XML format or into a CSV file and finally validate it against your corporate integration contract. And then if everything goes well, you will go into the next part of the left box here, the destination. And this is where you set up where and how you should send the information to other systems. So in this case, we just, for a developer, you have it to system out just to see in the ordinary log for a user or for a developer. But more ordinary here, you say that it should be posted to a file. And this is typically when you exchange the text file or XML file on a file share to other systems. Or you can use the HTTP transport to send it to an HTTP server. Or in this case, we have something called the RabbitMQ that is based on the AMQP standard for sending information to a RabbitMQ enterprise service bus. So here's there a number of configuration capabilities to say how many times you should retry to send the message if your enterprise service bus is not available typically. And you can also add additional header or address information on your message. And this once again is then either configurable against standard ENOVIA type, name or revision or description, or the current state of the object can be configured to pass in the message, or you can also here have an extension point to add more complex information in your message. And then the last part is the on-arrow configuration, where you define what should happen if something fails in this scenario. Should the user that initiated the integration be informed, or should an administrator be informed, or you can also then here add your more extensive error handling in the integration as well, if it's a more complex nature. So this was a configuration for a message integration. And then the next example is where we want to generate PDF files when promoting a document in ENOVIA. So in this case, typically when promoting it to review or to released, we say that TIFF should generate a PDF file for all. In the first part, we define what type of files on the document should be converted to PDF. It could be that you have Word or Excel or PowerPoint, and you only want to convert Word files or all of the files and so on. So then you define what type of files to convert to PDF. Then you define as our TVC file manager, you define what document properties that should be updated. So if you want to transfer the current state and the type and name and maybe the title of the document, or the one releasing the document should be updated in the actual Word file. So here then is possibility to define what information should be transferred to the Office document before it is actually generating a PDF file of it. The next part is that you can define if it should be an ISO or PDF-A PDF file, and for Excel there's additional information like the rotating and scaling and so on as well. So there are additional parameters to define how the PDF file should be generated. And then the last part here, or not the last part, but the next part is that you can also add an optional watermark. So typically if the document is not released, you can set that it with a large red text that this is preliminary, or this is obsolete, or this is restricted information or something like that. So then you can apply a watermark for different types of, based on maybe the state of the document or what type of document it is. You can add a different watermarks on top of the document. And then as before, you have the on-error part at the end, that what should happen if something fails for some reason. What should happen? Should the user or the administrator or someone else be informed about that? And the final output is that the general PDF file is checked back into ENOVIA.
Great. That's what we would like to cover. We would like to give you a brief overview of what TIFF is, and also get into a little bit of the details of what actually can be done through these XML configurations. And we have received some questions. Please submit more if you have them. Let me see. What do we have here? We have one about the ability. We have shown some different techniques, but if you are only interested in one of them, there is actually a packaging available for that. This product consists of a core part, and then you can plug in the different techniques that Daniel described here today. So you don't need to kind of invest in everything. You can split it up, or you can have everything in the same kind of bundled version. Okay, let's see. Then we have a question about, well, on slide 11. Let's see, go back here. And that is about how you can handle reuse and release of parts in a structure. Releasing parts in a structure is something that actually then could trigger all of this, the export of information through to the ERP system, for instance. That's the target with this. Yes. Let's see. Do I have some more questions here coming in?
One regarding what type of enterprise service bus we're integrating to, and a few examples today is we have customers using IBM MQ series. We have a number of customers integrating with that, and Rabbit MQ and Apache MQ as well. And I think that are and then what is called the BizTalk. I'm not sure, but that's at least a few of them that are integrated.
Then we got the question about the price of TIFF. We need to take that offline, most likely directly with you. And I think that was it at the moment. Please, I see you have my email address, andersmalmer@technia.com. We have Daniel Wossman, technia.com. We are open. Just email us if you have any questions or further questions, or contact your usual contact at Technia. We would really appreciate all questions you have, and this webinar will also be published on our website in a day or two. Yeah, and by that, I'll just thank everyone for taking time and listen to us, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.